The Chinese man, ignored for 40 years, who found love and a new life with an African woman. For 4 decades, he worked as a humble driller on a construction site, unnoticed and unable to find a wife. Then, in an instant, everything changed. Who did he meet? What turned his life around? And why did a young African woman choose to spend her life with him? This astonishing cross-border love story took China by storm and even made headlines on national television. Let's uncover the incredible tale. Valentine's Day, 2014. At a construction site in Africa, love was in the air. A 23-year-old African woman named Naburia, holding a bouquet of fresh flowers, stood in front of a 41-year-old Chinese man, her eyes filled with warmth and sincerity. With a soft, steady voice, she said, "I like you." The man froze. His face flushed red. Slowly he replied, his voice tinged with nervousness as he leaned toward her. His name was Zi Xiaowei, a driller from a small village in Hainan, China. Little did he know, this cross-continental love story would change his fate forever. From a poor, struggling farmer, he suddenly found himself living a life he had never dared to dream of. But how did Zi Xiaowei and Naburia meet? And what is their life like today? Born in 1973 in a remote village in Luoyang, Henan, Zi Xiaowei came from a long line of farmers. His family had endured generations of hardship. By the time he turned 40, he was still unmarried. Villagers often mocked him, saying he would never find a wife. Zi Xiaowei was a quiet, honest man. When people taunted him, he remained silent, swallowing their words without protest. He never imagined that one day he would return to his village with his head held high, and a foreign bride by his side. In 2013, as China's Belt and Road Initiative gained momentum, the China Communications Construction Company launched a major project, a highway stretching from Uganda's capital, Kampala, to Entebbe Airport. Seeing an opportunity, Zi Xiaowei made a bold decision. He joined the project as a driller. Little did he know, that single choice would change his destiny forever. Life at the construction site was monotonous. Zi Xiaowei kept to himself, following the same routine every day: work, eat, sleep. A man of few words, he rarely started conversations. Even during meals, he sat quietly in a corner, unnoticed. To most, he seemed withdrawn. But one person saw something special in him. Her name was Naburia, a 23-year-old African woman working as a kitchen assistant at the site. From the moment she first saw him, she was intrigued. The more she observed him, the more she found his quiet demeanor endearing, his pale skin, his serious expression. To her, he was simply adorable. Determined to get closer to him, Naburia took the initiative. She made sure to give him extra portions at mealtime, adding an extra helping of food to his plate, or filling his bowl with more soup than the others. She also created accidental encounters. Whenever she saw him approaching, she greeted him with a warm, radiant smile. Wanting to talk to him, she even started learning Chinese. One day she mustered the courage to ask in Mandarin, "What do you like to eat?" And then she eagerly waited for his reply. Zi Xiaowei never saw it coming. The moment he heard the unexpected question, his face turned bright red, his throat went dry, and he swallowed hard. Flustered, he stammered out a response that had nothing to do with the question at all. "Your teeth are so white." It was a disaster. Their first conversation had ended in complete failure. After 40 years of being single, Zi Xiaowei had no idea that Naburia was trying to confess her feelings. But strangely enough, this only made her more certain. The man in front of her, so simple, so pure, so utterly unpolished, was exactly the kind of man she could entrust her heart to. And yet, she hesitated. Should she really be the one to make the first move? Should a woman like her be the one to confess her love? Luckily, despite the awkwardness, that first conversation left a deep impression on Zi Xiaowei, and Naburia wasn't about to give up. In the days that followed, Zi Xiaowei began to notice it more and more. The way Naburia treated him differently. Little by little, he felt her warmth, her quiet attention, her subtle yet undeniable care. And then, it finally hit him. It was as if something inside him had awakened. The more he looked at her, the more endearing she became. The more he interacted with her, the more he found himself drawn to her. Soon, he started taking small steps, initiating conversations, helping her with little tasks whenever he could. Even though they spoke different languages, that didn't stop them from understanding each other. Day by day, their connection deepened, bringing them to the edge of something more. And yet, just as they were about to cross that invisible line, Zi Xiaowei hesitated. His mind was flooded with questions. He was Chinese. Once the project ended, he would have to return home. What if Naburia didn't want to leave Africa? Could he really stay in a foreign land forever? And if she did come with him, they would undoubtedly become the talk of the entire village. Would she be able to handle the gossip? Could she adjust to the language barrier, the cultural differences, the completely unfamiliar way of life? How would she get along with his family? And the biggest question of all, he was nearly 20 years older than her. Would she regret her choice one day? The more he thought about it, the more uncertain he became. So instead of speaking his heart, he stayed silent. He didn't know what the future held, and that terrified him. But for Naburia, waiting was not an option. Time waits for no one. Happiness belongs to those who reach for it. So, she made up her mind. February 14th, 2014. Naburia asked Zi Xiaowei to meet her on a quiet road. In her hands, she held a bouquet of red roses. Taking a deep breath, she looked into his eyes and said, "I like you." Zi Xiaowei had never experienced anything like this before. His face turned crimson, his heartbeat pounded in his chest, his hands trembled. And then, he wrapped Naburia in a tight embrace. The next day, after finally understanding each other's hearts, by the third day, Zi Xiaowei had made up his mind. Dressed in his best clothes, determined and full of courage, he went to propose. With the help of a translator, he gathered the necessary gifts and set off for Naburia's home. But before he even arrived, their love story had already spread like wildfire. Across Uganda, the news traveled fast. "Did you hear? Her daughter is in love with a Chinese man." The neighbors were buzzing, but Naburia's mother remained calm. To her, there was nothing wrong with loving a foreigner. As long as he treated her daughter well, his nationality didn't matter. Thanks to her mother's open heart, Zi Xiaowei was welcomed into the family, and just like that, the once overlooked man from China became the son-in-law of Uganda. Under the watchful eyes of friends and colleagues at the construction site, they officially became husband and wife. Zi Xiaowei and Naburia held a simple yet heartfelt wedding, a celebration not of grandeur, but of pure love and happiness. After marriage, life remained much the same. Zi Xiaowei continued working on site, while Naburia stayed busy in the kitchen. Together, they built a peaceful and fulfilling life, finding joy in the simplicity of everyday moments. But as the project neared completion, they faced a life-changing decision. At the end of 2014, their first child was born, a beautiful baby boy. They named him Zi Boe, a name carrying the love and hopes of both parents. He also had a special nickname, Nian Nian, a tribute to Uganda, the place where his parents first met and fell in love. But their joy was soon overshadowed by uncertainty. A difficult choice lay ahead. By 2015, the Entebbe Airport Highway project was nearing completion. Workers eagerly prepared to return home. Yet, while others celebrated, Zi Xiaowei found himself lost in thought. He had always known this day would come, but leaving behind a place that had become familiar, and bringing his wife and child to a land completely foreign to them, a place with a different language, culture, and way of life. Would Naburia be able to adapt to life in China? As Zi Xiaowei wrestled with his worries, Naburia saw the concern in her husband's eyes. She smiled at him gently and said, "I can learn Chinese." That one simple sentence was enough to dissolve all his fears. Seeing the unwavering confidence in her eyes, he suddenly realized his worries had been unnecessary all along. As long as they were together as a family, everything else was secondary. At the end of 2015, as the project officially concluded, Zi Xiaowei boarded a plane with his wife and son, returning to Luoyang, China. As expected, the moment they set foot in the village, curious whispers spread like wildfire. "Come quick, everyone. Look, Zi Xiaowei brought home a black wife." But Zi Xiaowei didn't care. With a calm smile, he nodded in greeting, then firmly took his wife's hand and walked straight home. Inside, his 70-year-old mother, who had been anxiously awaiting her son's return, stood at the doorway, heart pounding with anticipation. As the three of them stepped inside, she looked at her foreign daughter-in-law, then at her tiny grandson, with his soft, curly black hair. Her heart swelled with joy. Without hesitation, she warmly welcomed them in, quickly lighting the stove and preparing a home-cooked meal to celebrate the family's long-awaited reunion. Many believed that a traditional Chinese mother-in-law and a foreign daughter-in-law would inevitably clash. But to everyone's surprise, Naburia and Zi Xiaowei's mother, Li Shuiyun, got along incredibly well. So well, in fact, that they became as close as real mother and daughter. Fearing that her daughter-in-law might feel homesick, the elderly woman bought a world map and often asked Zi Xiaowei to show it to Naburia, helping her visualize the distance between Uganda and China. She also worried that Naburia might struggle with China's bitterly cold winters. So, before the first snowfall, she bought a heater, making sure her daughter-in-law stayed warm and comfortable. Li Shuiyun did more than just buy a heater for her daughter-in-law. She lovingly sewed a thick cotton-padded jacket with her own hands. For the first time in her life, Naburia wrapped herself in a warm, floral-patterned coat, feeling not only its softness, but also the love and acceptance of her new family. At every meal, her mother-in-law carefully asked about her favorite dishes. During conversations, she listened patiently, even when Naburia had to rely on gestures to express herself. With such genuine care and kindness, Naburia felt a growing sense of happiness. She was so well taken care of that she even gained 15 pounds. Life in China wasn't as difficult as she had once feared. In fact, she adapted remarkably fast. She wasn't just blessed with a caring mother-in-law, she also had a husband who deeply loved her. To help his wife adjust to rural life, Zi Xiaowei bought a Chinese-English dictionary. Every day they studied together. One read in Chinese, the other in English. One patiently taught, the other eagerly learned. In the peaceful courtyard of their home, they sat together, creating a picture of quiet joy and love. Naburia loved going to the market, so Ye Xiaowei always accompanied her, teaching her new words along the way. "This is a market," he explained. "A market is where we buy things." He pointed at different items, patiently teaching her their Chinese names. Learning a new language was a long and challenging journey, but for them, it was filled with laughter, memorable moments, and deep affection. With her husband's support, it wasn't long before Naburia could go shopping on her own. She could buy groceries, visit fairs, and even bargain in the Henan dialect. Beyond mastering the language, Naburia quickly became a beloved member of the community. From friendly neighbors to small shopkeepers in town, she made countless friends. Her bright smile and warm personality made her well loved by everyone in the village. But it wasn't just her social charm. She also became a hard-working homemaker. Every evening, as Zai Xiaowei went to pick up their son from school, in just a short time, Naburia had already finished laundry, cleaned the house, and even tended to their chickens, raising them plump and healthy. By 2017, Zi Xiaowei made a bold decision. He no longer wanted to work for others. Instead, he wanted to stay home with his family and build his own future. After careful thought, he decided to start farming. Together, they chose to grow Sichuan peppercorn trees. They rented 20 acres of land in their village to bring their vision to life. Naburia stood by her husband's side without hesitation. Every morning, she woke up early, heading to the fields with him. From digging holes to planting seeds and tending the soil, she eagerly learned every farming technique. Before long, she became just as skilled as a seasoned farmer. Through hard work and patience, their Sichuan peppercorn trees yielded far greater profits than any other crop. They never could have imagined that this simple choice would lead them to unexpected success. As their financial situation improved, their family welcomed another beautiful blessing. Their second son, Zia Fei, was born, bringing even more happiness into their home. Their house was now full of life, filled with laughter, and the cheerful sounds of children playing. For Li Shuiyun, their growing family was a dream come true. Whenever she met neighbors, she couldn't help but beam with pride. "My daughter-in-law is incredible," she would say. "She's hardworking, kind, and so devoted to our family." Her words spread far and wide, so much so that even China Central Television, CCTV, took notice of their extraordinary love story. In 2018, CCTV's popular show See You Again held a nationwide poll to select China's 10 most beautiful love stories. Among countless love stories across the country, one stood out: a cross-border romance between Xie Xiaowei and Naburia. Their love story was honored with a place on the list. On national television, in front of millions of viewers, Xie Xiaowei courageously declared his love for his wife. "No matter what anyone says, to me, she is the most incredible woman in the world." Beside him, Naburia smiled, and with just as much confidence she said, "Right now, I am truly happy. My love, I love you." The moment her words filled the room, the audience erupted in applause. Laughter, cheers, and warm wishes echoed throughout the studio. People were deeply moved by their story, genuinely celebrating their love. Before meeting Naburia, Xie Xiaowei was just an aging, unmarried man with nothing to his name. No money, no career, no family of his own. A quiet, simple man living an unremarkable life. But when Naburia walked into his world, everything changed. Since marrying her, he has not only found a warm and loving family, but he has also built a successful career, becoming a respected figure in his village. Xie Xiaowei firmly believes that it was Naburia who changed his life. And as he once said, "Marrying this woman was the best decision of my life." Today, Xie Xiaowei and Naburia have been together for 9 years. Every day, she wakes up to the laughter of her children, the comforting sounds of her mother-in-law cooking in the kitchen, and the joyful shouts of her husband chasing their son in the yard. Her heart is full. To honor her love for China, she chose a Chinese name for herself: Yongmei. Yongmei, a name that carries a beautiful meaning, a life filled with everlasting happiness and beauty. Their story is more than just a romantic tale. It's proof that true love knows no boundaries. No matter the distance, no matter the language or cultural differences, when love is genuine and unwavering, two people will always find their way to each other. Is love without borders real? Xie Xiaowei and Naburia's story is living proof. From a quiet, impoverished man to a devoted husband, a loving father, and a successful entrepreneur, his entire life was transformed by love. Do you believe love can overcome language, culture, and distance? Does this story inspire you? Share your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, so you never miss another extraordinary love story.